Hello.
Bear with me. I'm just going to push that light back a little bit because the side of your face is right.
Hopefully help
Sorry,
you.
It's still a massive problem.
You shit. Am I alright to go now?
You can go gadget. Dickhead.
Okay, so this video is going to be hopefully somewhat helpful to you in creating an original sound, or better yet, a sound that fits you. Improvisation, bitch. What are you doing?
Because you're not very tall, so I'm just compensating for that.
Right. Thing to try, number one. Try different guitar tunings. There's many different guitar tunings, from E standard, drop D, D standard, and then you've got all your open tunings. If you don't know what drop D is, it's basically where you're tuned in E standard, so you've got E, A, D, G, B, and then E again, but you drop your low E string, so your thickest one, down to a D, so you can play power chords with one finger. It's what we do most of the time.
It's good.
Okay, so you can have a standard tuning, which is basically tuned in the same manner and with the same intervals as E standard, but just to a different note. So you can have G standard, D standard, C standard, F sharp standard if you want. It's basically just having your high string and your low string at the same note, just 2 octaves apart, as they would normally be, and then having all the other strings tuned with the same intervals as E standard to those low notes. If you're going to go for any really obscure tunings, like if you're going to tune it really low or really high, you might want to consider getting different gauge strings, i.e. if you want to tune your guitar really low, thick strings are probably better, and if you want to tune it really high, then thin strings are probably better. These are judged as heavy or light strings, heavy being thick and light being thin. You can also experiment with open tunings, where basically you get all your 6 strings and you tune them to any chord. So you can play all your strings at once and it will just play that chord. This is most commonly done with notes 1, 3, and 5, as they are the notes that make up the finished chord. You can do this with any chord you like, and it makes for some really nice effects, especially if you're playing like an acoustic guitar or like a clean sound or something. Thing to try, number 2. More pedals and more strings. You can buy guitars that have up to like, I don't even know, you can buy like 12 string guitars and...
Well, yeah, but 12 strings aren't the same as...
Oh, yeah. You can buy like 9, 8, 7 string guitars that usually just add a lower one, but until I think it gets to 9, it starts adding higher ones. So you can get like more of a range with these strings. This is most commonly done when playing metal, because you have extra low strings and you can just go crazy on your low strings. As well, you can get a 12-string guitar, which is not what you'd think it'd be. A 12-string guitar is basically, because you have 6 strings on a normal guitar, those are doubled up. So you'd have your low E and then a high E directly next to it, and then your low A and then a high A, and then it just doubles up like that. That essentially, I suppose it's similar to a chorus sound, because it just doubles your sound. It just doubles the frequencies that are coming out of your guitar. That's also most commonly done with acoustic guitars. In fact, I don't think electric guitars can be 12-string, can they?
I imagine they could, but I don't think they are.
They can. I've seen SGs do it before, but I haven't seen any others. Thing to try, number 3. If you're a drummer, limit yourself. Take away certain aspects of your drum kit which will force you to play in a slightly different style. E.g., as Lenny gave me a lovely example earlier, if someone comes up to you and says, paint me a picture, you go, okay, that's fine. But if someone comes up to you and say, paint me a picture with one pen, that's a bit more challenging and forces you to use different techniques and usually more skills as well to get the same amount of sound, the same amount of
Quality.
Yeah.
I should be doing this video.
Maybe.
I'm clearly better.
Maybe. Okay, thing to try, number 4. Play your bass like a guitar. If you're a bassist, you do not have to stick to playing like one note at a time. You can quite easily do power chords if you like. You can do multi-note riffs at once. There's really no limit to what you can do. It's just your personal ability and ability to write said things. Yeah, you may have to tweak your sound in order to get this quite right. Like if you've got like a really deep bass heavy sound, then that's not really going to sound good with like 2 relatively low notes being played at the same time. You need to have some of that high-end clarity if you're going to do that on bass. Thing to try, number 5, try different vocal effects. Aside from your standard vocal effects like your distortion, your reverb, your delay, there's a really cool thing you can try called a harmonizer, where basically you can set it to do a certain harmony of what you're singing. So when you put it on, it will just sing like a third harmony or a fifth harmony or a sixth harmony or even like an eighth, which is an octave harmony over what you're singing.
That's what I'm saying, that these can be put into keys, which means that it won't just keep doing a major third, which will obviously sound out of key with some notes. It'll physically go major third and minor third at the right times because it knows what key you're in.
Yeah, and it knows what note in that scale that you're singing.
You can also get them that auto-tune you at the same time.
You can, yes, you can get like auto-tune pedals, but if you're one of those that is actually wanting to have some talent, then I'd avoid doing that.
Yeah.
Unless you want to specifically just get the auto-tune sound, like the robotic sound, then I suppose you could go for that then.
Yeah, there was a band that was local to us that had an auto-tuned vocalist on purpose as an effect. And they were like a pop-punk band.
Yeah, I remember that.
That was kind of cool.
They got a lot of flack though, didn't they? Because everyone was thinking, oh, why have you used so much auto-tune? You sound really auto-tuned. And the guy was like, yeah, because that's the sound that we wanted. I can actually sing. Okay, thing to avoid, number 1, amp presets. When you get a decent quality amp, it will usually come with presets. These are a good starting point to get your sound from. Like if you hear a guitar sound elsewhere and you decide, I want a sound that's kind of like that but a bit different, then you can pick your preset that sounds most like that and then just alter it as you see fit. But if you're going to be gigging regularly or even recording and using a standard amp preset, some people are going to recognise that preset and they're just going to think, oh yeah, that's a preset because it doesn't sound like it's been tweaked with it all. And it can sound really unoriginal and therefore boring. Okay, thing to avoid, number 2, copying a setup. There's a lot of videos on YouTube that's like, oh, how to get the Led Zeppelin sound or how to get the Metallica sound, which basically runs through the exact same guitar that a certain guitarist uses, the same amps, the same pedals. And while that's good if you're just using it for personal use, like you just personally want to sound like that artist, or if you're in a tribute band, then fair enough. But if you're creating original music, then you don't want to sound identical to anybody else. So get your own setup. Thing to avoid, number 3, if you're a drummer, don't get more than you need. I have seen plenty of drummers who have bought 5+ cymbals and rarely use them enough to warrant the price of buying them anyway. There's a lot of drummers that see really big drum kits and they think, oh yeah, I want a really big drum kit, but it doesn't make any sense for them to do it because the musical style that they're playing does not require that amount of drums. So don't buy more than you need and don't bite off more than you can chew. Don't get like 8 toms if you know that you're only ever going to use 2. Thing to avoid, number 4, practicing with somebody else's gear. Ideally, if you have created your own sound or are in the process of creating your own sound, you want to be using your equipment that you're going to be using on stage and in the studio. I realise that if you're a small band who can't afford to rent out your own space and is using like a community practice room, that's going to be really hard. But if that is the case, then you want to be using as close equipment to yours as you can. Early on, I don't suppose this really matters. When you're focusing on writing your songs and your stage performance, this isn't really important, but for the physical sound of your music, this is something that you need to focus on. Thing to avoid, number 5, buying things without research. I actually, a few years ago, bought like a multi-effects bass pedal just because it had loads of effects on it. I thought, oh yeah, this is going to be really cool, but because it had loads of effects on it, each one was just a little bit subpar. I would have been much better off getting 1 or 2 pedals that specialised in a specific thing, and were much better off at that. I was sold something because of the amount of things that it could do, not on its quality. Don't do that. If you're going to buy an amp, a guitar, a pedal, a car, a house, whatever, do research about it beforehand, because there's nothing worse than getting a new pedal on Christmas and realising it sounds shit. Try it out. Yeah, go to a guitar shop and just try out the amp or the pedal or the guitar that you're thinking about buying and see if it does what you need it to do. And if not, then keep looking. There's no harm in... There'll always be other options if you can't find what you need. Okay, that was how to find your own sound.
Nobody cares about the things.
It's not a funny day. I know this is going out on Saturday, isn't it?
But for Trump. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Donald Trump got him today.
Yeah, but you've already seen a video of us where we probably talked about that a little bit anyway. So here's the second video of that. We're sorry. Saying that, if, like, it's been a few days since he got in. So...
Yeah, there may not be an America left.
There may not be a Trump left. He might have been assassinated by now. If that's true, I'm keeping this in. And I am a predictor. That's not right. Prophecy. I don't know what.
You're a prophet.
I'm a prophet. I've got all that money. Donald Trump would like me if I'm prophet.
Okay.